Welcome back to Talent Hunters, powered by MRINetwork, where each week we talk with the world's top talent strategists and executive recruiters. And now, let's join the conversation with today's episode of Talent Hunters.
I think as a tool to help, because once you start making tech central to everything, then I think that's going to lead to negative outcomes. I think tech is always going to be there as a support function. But if you think about technology, the technology that we use in recruiting is not unlike what a bank could use, or a manufacturing company, or Amazon, or any company of any size or any nature, big or small. So I think if I go back to I remember when I was graduating school in 93, IT was a big major, right? Like people were going into IT and computer systems. And in 92 and 93, when I was walking down the hall, somebody said, "Oh yeah, I got an email address," right? So tech has become central to every company, right? And then IT function is what started it. Just like accounting, just like human resources, just like legal, any other back office function. So I think that it's not going backwards. I think it's only going to grow exponentially in terms of its impact on society. But it's very frustrating, but I don't think you can ignore it. But at the same time, it can't drive your business. It has to be there to support what you're trying to do.
Technology has certainly made a huge difference from all of us. I, make the joke about the fax machine being the cool thing that you had. And in those days, a lot of people didn't even have answering machines on their phone. They had to pick it up, or it was just going to ring and make noise. But technology has really affected our business as we've gone. Computers and now AI. The amount of information that is out there that you can tap into using a lot of these different tools is so far superior to what we had when we started. And, in those days, the only way you could find people is by asking other people. And that's the one source to identify people, and you had to be creative. And now it's easier to identify who at least name and title that you're looking for. There are, good tools to get in touch with them. But when you and I started, there was one tool that we believed in, and that tool is still here. And that's the telephone, right? Now, those days you couldn't call Europe. Well, you could, but it cost a lot of money. Now we do Zoom calls with Europe. And so, technology has opened up the world to us. We've placed people and helped companies all over the United States and in Europe and in Mexico. And technology has made that easier to do for all of us.
Yeah, it really has. And I think you alluded to kind of a pet peeve of mine is technology is phenomenal. It's a great tool, but the best way to be successful in this business is pick up the telephone and dial it.
That is still the best tool, Vince, that we have. All of the technology is great for finding people and perhaps getting them to notice you, but the whole goal of technology is to get them on the phone. I've heard it said that in life, the three most emotional things somebody goes through in their life is death of a loved one, marriage, and job change. And in order to help somebody do that, you really need to get to know them and understand them. And it takes conversation. And so the phone is still the most important tool we have.
We've always wanted to try and automate our process, because process in the recruiting business is very important. You have to do it the same way every time so you get as good of a result as you can with the candidates and the client. So we started to realize, well, how do we then leverage our system to send out these technological messages? How do we leverage our system to help us text, to help us integrate phone system, to help us integrate templates of communicated messages to our clients? So you fast forward from that question to about 2 years ago when ChatGPT dropped, and we realized, well, not only can we utilize internal technology to get our message out to candidates, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 messages instantaneously using email, text, phone messaging, another email, another text, another phone message simultaneously. But now there's programs that'll start building out those templates, and you could even articulate messages that way. Okay, that's all well and good, but we realized very quickly that people like people. People do not like speaking with AI technologies. People don't like knowing that there's a camera and an AI bot behind it asking a question, recording their answer that will then get lost in a void somewhere, and they're not even sure if it ends up in front of a hiring authority. So it's dead at that point almost every single time. So we realized that it has to be about the relationship, right? So we leveraged AI to get to that particular point, and it helped our process become more efficient. But it also helped us appreciate recruiting as a whole from a client standpoint, realizing that it's always going to be about the way we communicate with them. It's always going to be about the way we help them understand the candidate they're going to hire from a relationship standpoint. So 2 years ago, to answer your question, up until now, and this is going to be an ongoing discussion, I forecast moving straight on, but it's never going to replace a recruiter. It's going to uplift and strengthen our capacity to recruit efficiently for the person.
How do you manage keeping technology as a tool and not a distraction?
That's a double-edged sword of its own. And I mean, and you know me, Vince. I mean, how many meetings have I given where I've been up on the stage talking about technology, whether it's social media, this or that, and the powers and the capabilities of it. But technology does not make a recruiter. Technology is there to help create the power of the recruiter by helping them do things with a little more efficiency. When now with the advent of AI, maybe every now and then a little smarter than they really are. But it's helped to really streamline what they do. And the double-edged sword of that is if they rely too much on technology, pick your poison of what technology we're talking about. But if they rely too much on it, then they lose the human element. And this is a business from the beginning of time until I truly believe until the end of time, there will always be the human interaction. And that is the thing that keeps this profession of recruiting going and going and going. It is not just sending an email. It's not just sending a text. It's not recording a video and sending it off in a mass email stream. It's not being the greatest name on LinkedIn or on Twitter for what you do or funny videos you create. All of that helps create your brand. But it's what you do with that in your interaction, in your discourse with clients and with candidates that's going to keep this business around forever.
Oh, and building a relationship with somebody via voice.
That's right.
It's the fees that we charge, that we get paid, and the ability to earn those fees can't be done over technology.
No.
It has to be done face-to-face or on telephone. But that's, I truly believe in it.
Yeah, we're going to have one or two like that. I mean, I've always loved the little stories, and we've had several of them over the years, where 100% of the communication was between email and text. And usually that was impact player driven or MPC driven, whatever name you want to give it, where you had a candidate, you literally got their voicemail, you left them a message, they returned the voicemail, and they got your voicemail. They said, I'd love to talk to them. You send over the resume. They shoot you a text with a time. You respond with a text. You try to call them. They don't return the call, but they return the text. They say they want to give an offer. They won't tell you what the number is over the phone, but they'll give it to you via text. You call the candidate. The candidate goes, I already got a call from the company. Not the process we set up, of course, but I already got a call from the company. They're giving me an offer and I've accepted. You're like, great, let's talk about it. Oh, I'm starting a week from Tuesday.
Never experienced that.
We've
Congratulations.
had a couple of those.
That's awesome. What has technology done to your business? How has it benefited your business?
Good question. LinkedIn's always been a key tool. I wouldn't say that over the last 11 years, I've seen a whole lot change in terms of technology impacting our business. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that we're not a high volume shop that is trying to leverage technology to get thousands of messages out over, every week. So we leverage it. I can't say that we are fantastic at it. Myself personally, our director of research is, but it's just a tool. At the end of the day, though, it's a relationship business, and that's the most important thing.
So, and I can relate to that. I mean, I'm incredibly old school. Technology started with me with the fax machine. That was the greatest threat there was going to be to recruiting. Well, we know how that turned out. The technology is growing so doggone fast. It's fulfilling to hear you basically say, we're on the phone. We're talking to people. Technology, when you started in this business, was moving along. And today it's gone from a rabbit moving along to a jet fighter pilot taking off. What do you do, Christian, to keep you and your office focused on what we've got to get done today and not trying to use technology to solve everything?
So you just described me. I'm not a technology guy. Anyway, I don't have Facebook. I don't have any of that stuff. Like I don't. Relationships with and how strong are those relationships? And you cannot do that through text and email and whatever else you think you can use it for. The only thing to me that technology has done is change the way in which we get people on the phone. Right? That's it. It's, when you and I started, it was, hey, here's a list of 100. Good luck. Right. But that's all we had. Right. Do I still think that's a viable thing today? Sure, I do. Do I think we should be using other things? Absolutely, we should. But ultimately, I still have to get on the phone with you, and I still have to enter a dialogue that I can provide value, no matter what that looks like. And that ultimately, if that takes you 40 calls to get there, and I know we're not necessarily talking about phone calls, but let's be real. That's what old guys like us, that's what we do, is write phone calls. You've got to have the conversations or you'll never get there. You will never get to the point where you're not chasing stuff. Because in this job will get hard if you're always chasing, if you're never developing relationships. And ultimately that's what, and I have this conversation with my team. They're tired of hearing about this exact conversation because it's so easy to get caught up in, well, this is new and this is new and this is new and this is new. It is new. You still got to talk to people.
You've experienced a time where technology can, and a lot, is distracting us from success. How do you manage technology to maintain your success?
Absolutely. That's a really, really good question, by the way. A really good question. You've got to use the technology, and I'll just use example, texting, Zoom, we can even talk about, Zoom info and data collectors and things like that. You've got to use that technology to supplement your business and not kind of cannibalize, the other things that you've always done. The phone and face-to-face human connection, there's nothing that replaces that. There are a lot of things that we can do that are going to help us for the in-betweens. When I first started recruiting, and this is actually really cool to kind of tell like this story. When I first started recruiting with my uncle, this is even before we had ATS systems, So whenever we would get a new job, I had bookshelves behind me with boxes of resumes. And so if we needed an engineering manager in Texas, I'm going to go to the engineering manager box, and I'm going to go through and call everybody. And, we've got a resume and then a sheet that we just write notes on. And then obviously you see how that's been, digitized and what have you, with our PCRs and with our Bullhorn and with our applicant tracking softwares that make things a lot easier for us to access that information and then get to it. But you can't just rely on technology to get you to where you need to go. It all goes back to the fundamentals. I use technology every day. I do things every day now that I didn't do 10 years ago. I used to I used to make 70, cold calls a day kind of when I first got started. I don't even know if that's possible now. When I made 70 cold calls, 50 people would pick up the phone. Even if I had gatekeepers, 50 people would pick up the phone. And then you talk about technology and the, how much it helps us. Well, I mean, the caller ID stuff probably doesn't help us, quite as much. And so you definitely do got to find other ways to do it. And so if I'm setting up interviews and things like that, I spend my day like this. I really do. But talking on the phone, human to human connection, human to human interaction, there is no replacing that. And so we can use all of these different tools. I mean, at the end of the day, I think technology, a lot of this technology, I mean, it kind of adheres a little more to our tactics, but we still kind of have the same overall strategies and let's just say overall recruiting disposition. I still do it the same way I did it 13 years ago. Do I have different tools that I use to help me get there? Is it a little different in the day-to-day process? Yes. But at its core, I still do the things that I learned in Philadelphia, as a 24-year-old with a better hairline, and so forth to this day.
To do as a business is keep moving forward.
Now, you came in at a time when there was a big adjustment going on between 100% telephone. And since then, technology has just been going through the roof. And I have personally experienced that if we tend to chase technology, we tend to lose traction in what we do best. What's been your experience in dealing with all the new technology, and how do you adapt to using it as a tool and yet staying focused on what works in the business?
I think it's a benefit, honestly, Vince, as you say, old versus new in terms of kind of the use of the tools that are available to us. Technology is really interesting in the fact that it allows us to do what we do faster. And I think that's always been the progression, right? You mentioned the fax machine. When I started, email was kind of new in a sense, which was a long time ago, sad to say. But to take it to where we've come today, it's understanding the use of technology. And one of the things that I think I'm blessed with is that I learned that this is a phone business. This will always be a phone business. And the reason it is that is because it's about making human connection. Human connection is what recruiting is in general. You're talking to companies and leaders of those companies that have objectives they need to tackle. You're talking to candidates and their personal lives, and they have objectives they need to tackle. And you get all that by connecting with them on the phone and through conversation. The use of technology, we've embraced it. It's a great opportunity to keep track of all the things and the people that we're talking to and who we're working with, so we can do more of it, if you would. But I'll leave the nugget of I've never made a placement of hundreds and hundreds of placements that I've made without talking to somebody directly. It won't ever not be that way. Technology is a great tool. It helps us do everything much faster, but you don't do it without talking to people.
So when do you teach your people to focus on the tools during the day?
In fact, we've had a lot of those conversations recently because when things shift in the world of recruitment, and there's always going to be shifts and adaptations that need to be made from market concerns or changes to even the use of internal talent acquisition and where they play a role in all of this stuff. Technology is big, and from a management tool is what are we using it for? So understanding the use of the technology that we have and the access of information that we have to ultimately manage whatever those, what we'll call outreach tools that we have to get people on the phone, to maximize the tools, to be efficient, to talk to people about what we need to talk about, because you can't tell a story without talking to somebody. So the tools for us from a management perspective are what are we doing to get people on the phone to tell our story.